since the patch, I only had that one. It's a scrim where I played Widow.
Yep.
So I guess it's gonna be a Widow one.
Okay, Widow one. This is going to be interesting. Okay, so it's Widow with the old kind of divey comp, right? So it's obviously you know that Widow can be used in almost any comp, right?
Yeah.
She's kind of there as she always puts pressure on enemy teams just from her positioning,
Yes.
and usually enemy teams just pick a Widow as well to counter that. And then it's just Widow v Widow.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest thing you'll have to deal with. It's Widow v Widow,
Yes.
which is down to like positioning and timing and aiming.
Yes.
More timing than aiming. Aiming's kind of easy because Widows don't really move. Okay, so all right, starting off, I like this position where you start. I like the position here where you started. Oh, that's too big. It kind of catches them by surprise. Most people will expect you to be like up here. You can start up here and then kind of grapple over to the bridge and then jump down here. You can try that. And what does that allow you to do at the start? It's risky though if the enemies have a Widow, but what does it allow you to do?
Scouting.
Yeah, scout early. You can see their team as they leave, right? The problem with this, right, is if they come out from the right or the left, you might just get headshotted if you don't expect it, right? But they'd have to really expect you on Widow, and they'd have to already see you up here. Okay, so what you do is you kind of grapple up and hold as far back as possible, crouching, so they don't see you up here. Sometimes good teams will be looking out the door and will see you grapple up there. But yeah, try and grapple up there earlier so you always have a grapple. Yeah, ready to jump off and back out. Okay. Give that a go. If not, right. So, what's the first thing you should know from seeing the D.Va ball? Fucking hell, the chat.
They're playing more of the dive hybrid.
They're playing like the mirror, kind of like the dive basically. And what's your kind of play style against dive?
I'm just trying.
Well, actually, I'll go even further back. What's your play style with dive, with this dive team? How do you play with your team? Like, what's your play style? What's your job? What's your job? That's the better way to say it.
My job is like I
on your team
try to like hold like the flank and try to deal with the enemy Widow if they have one.
Right, but let's say they don't have a Widow. What's your job?
Getting picks. That's actually a hard.
Yeah, no, pretty much, right? Yeah. But obviously, everyone in the whole game wants to get picks, right? Yeah. So how do you kind of get value? Remember, the whole point of being useful in a team is to be able to get value, right? So how do you get value picking a Widow? Let's say you can't get picks, or like maybe you're missing, or you don't want to kind of like only make it so you're only useful if you get picks. I know that's kind of what Widow does, especially in comp, but against other teams, how do you get value before you've even got picks? Like, what does Widow do? If you're against a Widow, what are you afraid of if you weren't playing Widow? I know it's not really. Let's say, would your team be afraid of? Yeah, exactly. Right. So how do you get value before you've even gotten a pick?
You take a good position.
You take a good sightline, right? That basically limits where the enemies can go, right? Yeah. And obviously that's if you're not against a Widow, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously the first one would be here because this covers the whole of mid. They can't even get through. The problem with this position here is you're kind of in the middle. And if you limit the enemies from going through mid entirely, they're going to put more resources to try and take you out, right? That's why taking more kind of like off angle and hidden spots, I guess like this one, right? Yeah. Or maybe up here, or maybe even to the side here or something like that, right? The enemies don't expect you for a start, right? And then when you do pop out with the like Widow shots, they start to panic. They've already like committed to go through, and now they're like, oh shit, there's a Widow. Then they start to panic and kind of have to reconfigure their sightlines. And at that point, you can now move to like a new position. Like you can grapple back and get an even wider sightline and kind of make them panic in their dives, yeah?
Okay.
So that's kind of like, that's kind of your original job, right? To limit their sightlines and to kind of make them panic mid-fight. Obviously, what do they want to do? They want to take you out. And what would they do? They'd either dive you, or if they had a Widow, they would just put the Widow on you, okay? The point is, even if they have a Widow on you, what's their supports afraid of? Just getting sniped, right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, analyze what characters you can kill on the enemy team. What are the characters that are actually scared of you on the enemy team?
The Sun.
Yep. I mean, technically, right, let's say they didn't have a Widow. It'd be the Zen. It'll be, well, okay, let's say it's the Widow or whoever replaces the Widow, right? Unless it's like Tracer. But even Tracer, you can deal with. But yeah, it's basically Zen, technically Brig if she doesn't have a shield. I know she's not as scared because she has a shield, right? But those are the characters you want to be sightlining for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that? So you need to kind of know by default where they hold or when they push in, and that's when you peek. Okay? So if the ball and the diva come through, you don't need to shoot them. I mean, you can, because that allows you to get some ult charge if they already know where you are. But if you want to keep your position and kind of catch the actual weak targets like the Zen and stuff like that, you can hide behind like here, do a little peek just to see them come through. And when you see the ball come through, I don't know, maybe you hear him or maybe you just spot him come through, right? Then you start aiming down sight. Because remember, after the tanks come through, who's going to come through? The supports, right? It's tanks and then supports. So if the tanks come through and you're like, okay, the tanks are pointless to shoot, right? It's just going to reveal your position.
Yeah.
That's when you peek out.
Yeah. After I shot that, I was like, wait, why did I do that?
Yeah, because you're just, but right, it's also okay to do that, right? It's not terrible to shoot a tank, because what can you do to change your kind of like position and like give yourself more pressure? Yeah, grapple to a new position and just all rotate, right? If you don't grapple, it's even more hidden, right? Because you can rotate.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole point is, as you now know, you need your kind of role or your job is to kind of put pressure on the enemy team before you get picks, and then it's to get picks. Okay, obviously you want picks, and against the enemy team, always kind of analyze what the key potential pick targets are, right? And that is literally supports, then DPS, unless they have Widow, and then Widow's number one. The Widow's first. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm sure you know about the Widow thing anyway. Anyway, let's keep watching. I like this angle though. If you had waited, so if you had waited back here and waited for the ball to roll past or wait for the ball to go wherever, you can go back out here, zoom in, and then this is a free headshot on the Widow. Now, on the Zen. The problem is, right, this Zen shouldn't be walking forwards. Ball should have called out that there was a Widow, and Zen should now be really shitting himself and should be like making a really close rotation while looking down, or should be Matrix through or whatever. He's probably going to get Matrix through anyway, but I have a feeling because they know there's a Widow, this diva will now turn on Matrix, right? Because they know there's a Widow. If they didn't know that and you were hiding, she wouldn't have Matrix. Let's see. No, see, he's kind of scared to make this kind of movement here. He will have to do it at some point, but I think he's waiting for like a Matrix. Or yeah, Diva's body blocking him. See? Diva's body blocking him, which completely negates your kill. And even Zen knew you were there because he's already shooting there, right? So basically you got called out by the ball that you shot ages before. Or even the Diva, right? Because you shot both of them. Do you see what I mean? And now they all know you're there. Where are they all looking?
Me.
At you. If they all know the Widow's somewhere, they have to look in that direction first before, instead of anywhere else. No one else is a big like target to kind of like look at and to put pressure on other than the Widow.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, is Sombra on you now? I think I heard.
Yeah, she's on the.
Oh, okay, yeah, she's on the Diva. Yeah, I heard her shoot. Careful, because I mean, Sombras nowadays destroy Widows, right?
Yeah.
How do you deal with the Sombra as Widow?
I usually put on like a Venom mine, like behind me or in like a sneaky corner.
Yeah. So basically, for Sombras, you need to know the two locations Sombras kind of rotate from, right? Where do Sombras rotate from? So let's say a map is 3 lanes. You've got mid lane, you've got left lane, you've got right lane, right? Where do Sombras rotate from?
Usually,
we'll go.
Usually, I think they like going left.
Left or right? Left or right, right? Either one, okay? Sombras can do both. Why don't they go main, though? A lot of the time. Sometimes they do.
Is it more like a set up a hack?
Right, so basically, a lot of the times, Sombras are scared to go main because if they go main, there's a way higher chance they get hit by a stray bullet and then get revealed and ruin their kind of like setup. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? So they're more likely, as you said, they're more likely to go this way. Why is it more likely that they go this way to begin with?
Because it's way more cover. And
yeah, there's way more cover on the way. There's all this part is inside, right? Yeah. If they went right where this line was, they'd have to go through main and then come out this whole time up the stairs, right? So there's way less cover. So basically, the important thing I want to say is Sombras always kind of take the route with most cover first, but when you get to higher ranks, you'll notice that Sombras do weirder and weirder rotations so that they don't get like guessed. You see what I mean?
Yes.
For you though, if your D.Va's covering mid, you don't need to put one Venom Mine mid. You don't need to put one. So basically, here would be the Venom Mine areas, right? Okay, so you've got one here on this wall. This is for mid cover, or that side, whichever one. Doesn't really matter. I think this kind of the range is big enough that you won't be able to guess. Yeah?
Yeah.
That covers mid. This one there covers left. And for this one on the right, which one's best? Which place?
I would say the pillar.
So I like the pillar.
Yeah.
Right, but why not put one there? Because that 100% gets hit. Gets the Sombra.
That's true. Also, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, what's the difference? Why would the pillar sometimes be better than this one?
Because I would say if like the whole team pushing, then it's someone else takes it than the Sombra, or if they like.
That's not it's not likely to happen if they have a Sombra team. If they have a Sombra team, right? Okay, what you need to realize, right? If they have a team that pushes together, like let's say Rush with Sombra, would the Sombra go in with the team? Like would she stealth through with the team? No way. Not in a million years. She will never go with her team. So if the team goes through the right here, right, you don't put your Venom Mine there. Waste of time, right? Put it the opposite side, so the left-hand side. Do you see what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Always do it where the enemy team isn't, because not only will they trigger it, right, they'll trigger both of these, right? Not only will they do that, Sombra doesn't go with the team if she's stealthed. If she's not stealthed, she'll go in with her team, right? But if she's stealthed, she'll never go through her team because she's just going to get hit immediately, right? By anyone in the entire game. See what I mean? Anyway, right. I'll give you an extra thing here. So I like this idea of the pillar, and I like this idea. Why is the pillar also okay? Why shouldn't you always do the same area there? Because it's expected. It's expected, right? Enemies, Sombras check this first, and then might go to the side here and destroy it, right? If you put the Venom Mines in the same place every time, or in a really obvious place, or in a place that's always been put, they're going to check it. Now, this place is good. Now, where would you place it on this pillar? Would you place it there? Would you place it like there on this? But where would you place it?
I would place it like on the first one.
Here. Yeah. But have you ever thought about how high you should place it?
Yeah.
Where should you place it? Should you place it like there?
A little bit down.
Put it on the ground. Put it there. Do you know how good that is? It's covered by the vase, right? And it does the same thing as if it was up here, but it's actually harder to see, right? So you put it on the wall, but as far down as possible, okay? Do you know why that's kind of better?
Because you can like if you try to shoot it from like mid, then the vase gets destroyed first.
Yeah, right. So that's one of the reasons. But why is it actually better to place it as far down on a wall? No, this is a bad example, and I'll tell you why in a second. Right? Why is it better if it's on a wall like there to place it as far down and not like in the middle here?
Because it's like unexpected that it's like so like on the ground.
There's actually it's not really. So you could say that, yes, but the main reason is think about how crosshair positioning is done. Think about crosshair positioning, right? Where do people's crosshairs go automatically?
Like the high up?
At head level. Every single pro player or any CSGO player or anything like that will always put crosshairs at head level. And what's the first thing you see at head level? You see the thing at head level, right? You see the thing you're aiming at first, right? It's you spot it the whole time. This is why Junkrat mines exist, right? Or Junkrat traps exist, right? Because it's not a head level, they're on the ground, so sometimes they're hard to spot. So basically, if a Sombra is coming through main, don't put it at like head level, right? Because that's the first place that's going to kind of be spotted or checked, right? If you put it like down on the wall, but at ground level, not on the ground, on the wall, right? First of all, it actually merges into the ground. Have you ever tried that on this wall? I'm pretty sure it works for this one. I might actually check that now because it's a bit buggy on that place. So let's check it in 2 seconds. Let me go to presets. But do you know what I mean by that, basically?
Maybe, I think so.
Okay, let me show you. I don't know why I didn't just grapple up, but there we go. Okay, so if you place it up there, right, watch, it can be spotted from main, yeah? It can be spotted from main, real easy to see, okay? Obviously, if someone's coming through here, they're not going to see it, that's not the point, right? But if they're checking, can you see, you'd see it, right, like that.
Yeah.
Or if she was running through, you might spot it because it's at head level, right? Now, what about... Oh, okay. Go away, Hanzo. What about... I want to crouch, this is the problem. There we go. What about that, right? If you get it low enough, I think you can get it like right under there. Yeah, kind of like that, right? It's blocked by the vase, right? Can you see how much harder it is to see now?
Yeah.
Can you see how much harder it is to see?
Yeah.
It's like completely... If it was at head level, you would notice it. Watch how much harder it is to see. If it was there, it would be obvious. But there, it's kind of like hidden by the downward angle. Do you see what I mean? It's just... Basically, what I'm trying to say is try and put the mines as low down as possible. They're so much harder to see, right? Why shouldn't you put them there, though? When someone goes up high ground, because look at head level. Where's someone aiming? Right, is the first place they're gonna see. So when they're going up, you put it high up, right, like that. Right, when they're going up, you put it high up because it's not even on their screen. Do you see? And this will still detect them. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So another good example would be here, right? You wouldn't put it down there, right? Because where's head level as they're coming up, right? I know they're not going to spot it because there's basically this little wall here, but I'm saying this in general for any map, any place, any map, whatever, right? If you put it there, it's at head level. They spot the flashing almost immediately, right? But if you put it high up like there, right? It's not even on their screen. They won't even see it if they look left or right. Do you see? They won't even see it and they'll get hit by it. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? So basically, that's all you need to know for venom mines. If it's a place that goes up, put it high up. If it's a place at just normal flat, put it low down, right? And if it's a place that goes down, you can also put it low down. So another example would be if you're holding here and the sombra was coming up there, right? If you're holding there, you would want to put it low down, right? Because again, that's not even on their screen as they're running down, right? I know the stairs are in the way, so it doesn't really help with that. But let's say for this one, right? Okay, there's no wall. It doesn't really work either. But in some places that go down, right? You kind of get what I mean, yeah?
That's actually kind of mind blowing. What the fuck? Yeah.
It's just like, well, the reason why most people don't even think about that is because at the end of the day, right, people overlook venom mines. People think venom mines are just pointless, just throw it anywhere, right? It doesn't really matter. The problem is when you get to really high level, venom mines are actually incredibly useful to basically scout any flanker. It means you can spend so much more time actually focusing on like your positioning, who you're aiming at, blah blah blah, instead of actually, just placing down a venom mine or not placing down a venom mine and getting like flanked or having to listen out or having to check behind you all the time because you don't have a venom mine. Do you see what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Also, another thing as well, when should you place the venom mine? I know these can get destroyed, it does suck a bit. But anyway, when should you place the venom mine? Should you place it at the very start of the game or should you wait until the game starts?
Maybe wait a bit so like get scouting what they're playing.
No. So I know what you're thinking, right? If you wait a bit, then it won't get scouted by other teammates, right? And sometimes I can agree with that, right? Sometimes let's say it was this location here and you're placing it there. If you just placed it at the start of the game, they would see it as they're coming through mid, right? But if you were like waiting and everyone had came through, then you could like lob it from there and try and get it on the wall, okay, and spot the sombra. The problem is if you wait a bit and do this method, they see it fly onto the wall, right? They would see it fly onto the wall anyway, and they would tell the sombra or they would destroy it, whatever, right? The point is, what I would say is always place it as early as possible, because if you do place it as early as possible, it comes off cooldown, right? So you have another one ready. So when it gets spotted or a sombra walks into it or it gets destroyed, you can throw another one in, right? Or you can change the location, which would be even better. Like I'd change it to somewhere like there. So if someone runs down here, they get spotted by it, or maybe put it up against that wall. So then if they're going over the bridge, they get hit by it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, I mean, okay, it's kind of hard with this spot here. You could even like put it on top of this thing, but I don't think that's good because you'd see the lines like that,
No.
right? Okay, anyway, that's the point of kind of like venom mine there. It's weird how they changed that main menu. It kind of confuses me every time. Anyway, so don't think venom mines are useless. They're insanely useful when you're playing against this comp, right? When you're playing
Yeah.
against this comp here, they're insanely useful. Okay,
Okay.
because well, why for a start? Because any scouters that they have, any flankers that they have, which they will always have, right, are gonna literally have their day ruined by a Venomine. You just need to know which way they're coming from and which place to position it. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Anyway, let's keep on watching. Where's your Venomine actually for this?
I don't think I actually placed one.
Yeah, you didn't
Yeah.
actually place one. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I
That
placed one.
just place it before the game even starts. It means you
Yeah.
don't even have to think of it, right? Just place it wherever you want before the game even starts. Okay. I mean,
think
not wherever you want. Try and put it in a good position, but
yeah.
still, it's your choice which kind of lane to put it on. Yeah.
Yeah. I never really played with like the Venomine like you describe it now, because I just feel like I don't know like good places to actually place them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So
now, yeah.
So now you know kind of where to, like, how high up and low down to place them. All
Yeah.
you need to know is just place them through chokes. That's it. What's a choke in this game? What is a choke? You know what a choke
It's
is, because
yeah.
chokes are important, right? So chokes are basically any doorway anywhere, right?
Yes.
That basically, so this is a choke, right? This is a choke. This is a doorway. It's a choke. That doorway there, between these two pillars, that doorway there. These are all chokes. Do you see what I mean? It's places
Yeah.
that people have to funnel through, right?
Yeah.
I know some places kind of bootleg choke, so technically this is a choke as well. That's a choke, and even
Yeah.
that side is also a choke, like that. Right? These are all chokes. Okay.
Would you call
Obviously, you can't
nature
cover all
choke?
three at once. You can only cover two at once, like that.
Yeah.
Right? But you still want to place it there to cover the choke. And for starters, why is placing it here, the Venomine, on this pillar, worse than placing it on this pillar? Think of how the chokes work. Which two chokes does this one cover? If you place a Venomine here, which two chokes does this one cover? It covers this choke,
Yeah.
and it covers that choke there. Do Sombras ever go through the far one like that?
No.
No. So it's pointless placing it there, right?
Yeah.
That's why you want to place it like there, because it covers the mid choke, right? I mean, technically, the problem with Venomine in general is the actual range of it exploding isn't that high. So if the Sombra literally hugged this pillar, she wouldn't get hit by this Venomine, right? Same as if she hugged this wall and went that way, like she wouldn't get hit by this Venomine. Venomine isn't like amazing. It's not like, oh, it literally will get you the moment you go through a choke. As soon as it's a wide choke like this that covers two areas, right, you can't get both of them. It's impossible to get the whole of two chokes at once. It's impossible with Venomine, right? You can only get like one half of one, like that. Or for this, it would be like one half. It would be one half of one and one half of the other. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's a singular choke, you can get it almost every time. So if it's a single choke like this one and it's thin, you get it every time. Anytime a Sombra comes through, if you have a Venomine here, she'll get spotted, right? You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
trust me when I say this, don't think Venomine is useless. Just imagine how useful it would be to have a Venomine here, and you spot anyone that comes through there, even if it's not the Sombra, even if it's the Bull, even if it's the Diva, you instantly spot someone basically for your whole team. And that's free information for your whole team, using a move that has pretty much no cooldown, because when you placed it, it would have been at the start of the game. So you can place another one immediately, right? It's just free. It's free scouting information. And not only that, but it scares the enemies. If the enemies get Venomine, they run away. People don't realize just how useful Venomine is, and they just don't bother with it, which is what's happening here, right? But you need to start bothering with it. It really will up your game, and when you realize how effective it actually is, if you actually put it in good positions, right? If you actually guess where the flankers are going to go, what route they're going to take, and kind of like time it. And also remember, you can Venomine from long range if you really want to. I know it can get spotted doing this, but if you aim about here, it will fly over and it will hit that wall, right?
Okay.
From here, you aim kind of like up to about there. That's where you're aiming, and it will fly down and you'll hit that wall because it goes quite far. Yeah? It just won't be as good or accurate if you do it that way. Yeah? And also, it might get spotted.
Yeah.
That's why you do it before the game starts, or in between what?
In between fights.
Yep, exactly. Anyway, let's watch this again.
This is actually so useful because I've always been wondering like how to actually play around the Venomine or like play with it.
Yeah, I know. So the thing is as well, right? Okay, imagine this, right? Imagine the Venomine was up here, right on the wall, like hiding here, and you were a Sombra. How are you going to get through this doorway if you know there's a venom mine up there? What do you do?
Can't really do anything.
You can't. So if the sometimes, right, it's good to kind of even put it so close to the wall that she can see the blue light flashing, so she knows it's there. The problem with that, right, is so obviously she can't do anything. That's the point. That's how good venom mine is, by the way. You can completely negate a whole location for a Sombra, and you don't have to do anything. You just place it there and leave it, right? And you've negated the whole location. She can't use that flank anymore, right? That's insane, right? So I just said, right, sometimes it's good for her to know that because she doesn't go through there anymore, right? Why is that also a problem, though? Why is it not always good to let them know that there's a venom mine there? Why is it sometimes better to hide it so she actually triggers it?
So
because it might sound great to actually let her know it's there so she never goes that way, right? Or she's scared to go that way, or she can't go through. But why is it better to actually hide it, which is what most people would do, right? Most people are going to hide venomized. Basically, the reason is if you hide it and let her trigger it, there's a higher chance she dies, right? There's a higher chance she panics, therefore there's a higher chance she dies, right? If you don't hide it and you let her know it's there, she might see it's there and realize she can't go through that location without getting spotted. But she might get one of her tanks to take it out. She might go a different location, and now your venom mine's useless if she goes all the way around the other way. Do you see what I mean? Now the venom mine never gets like spotted, right?
I think your mic.
Sorry, yeah, my mic. I literally accidentally unplugged my mic then. Yeah, so now the venom mine is kind of useless, and now you kind of leave the venom mine there, but it then triggers for like a tank who either purposely triggers it or because Sombra knows it's there, she goes a different way and then kills you. Do you see what I mean? So it's always better to catch the Sombra with a venom mine, right? That is guaranteed to catch her. So that's why it's better on this doorway here than it would be down here. The problem is if you always put it on this doorway and she gets spotted by it and dies, where's she going to go next time? She'd probably go a different way. If she dies, by the way, if she goes through that, gets spotted by the venom mine and jumps out quickly, would she go that way again? There's a chance she'll go that way again, because what Sombras think is if they've just triggered a venom mine, right, there's not going to be another one there, right? So it's up to you. This is mind games now. This is completely up to you, right? It's either up to you. Do you place the venom mine here again, right, to stop her from going through this location entirely, right? Or do you place it like literally to the left, like through this door, like this door here? Yeah. Because if you do that, because you expect her to go right now, because you know that she will trigger as she comes out, right? You see what I mean? Right? And this isn't just for Sombra, by the way. This is like for Genji, for Tracer, blah, blah, blah. Tracer's a really good one that Venom Mine counters as well. Yeah, because obviously, what's the problem with Genji, though, with Venom Mine? He can just climb over it, right? Genjis can completely counter Venom Mine if they just climb over it. But I'm going to teach you how to use Venom Mine against Genjis. Right. Where do Genjis always try to be in terms of like elevation?
With their T?
Sorry?
Or I don't.
Up high. They always want to be up high. Why do Genjis always want to be up high?
Because I don't know.
Because high ground is better. Okay, this is what I mean by this, right? If a Genji was flanking you, right, coming through here, would a good Genji, just run through here, right? Or would he be up here, like shurikening you over here, blah, blah, blah? Do you see what I mean? Up high. Which one would he do?
I'll go up high.
They always go up high. Genjis always do this, right? And the reason for that is because high ground, as I've explained before, is literally better in every single way, right? It's harder to hit, especially for Anubis as well. There's more routes to go because you can come out from the side, blah, blah, blah. Whereas low ground or normal ground, right, it has to funnel through a choke. A lot of times, high grounds allow you to ignore chokes, right? So these high grounds up here allow you to ignore chokes, right? This high ground up here allows you to ignore the chokes, right? So do you see what I mean? High grounds allow you to ignore chokes a lot of the time, right? I mean, for example, like this one, it's still a choke, this high ground going over this thing, but it's bigger than this one. So high grounds are always more open, right? So what you do against Genjis is you actually kind of venom mine the high ground areas where you see him. But I don't think you need to Venomine Genjis, because a lot of times Genjis aren't there to flank and be hidden, right? That's not what Genjis do. Genjis literally, they just shuriken you from high ground, right? So you don't need the Venomine there. So if you see the Genji flanking and he's just shurikening you from a distance, how would you Venomine? Or where would you place the Venomine?
I would place it like with me.
Yeah, with you,
around.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
With you. But this is a mistake widows always make, right? They always place it at their feet, right? So then if the Genji dashes on you, he gets Venomined, right? Like that, right?
Yeah.
What's the problem with that? Like placing it at your feet before he's dashed on you? Or
he can destroy it.
yeah, he just shoots it and it gets destroyed, right? He's going to do that,
Yeah.
okay? So what should you do if you're like in this position here, or if you're up here? How should you place it?
Like when he dashes.
You could do that, yeah, but it takes a while to kind of like go to actually activate. And actually, this is a good thing. Does Venomine still damage Widow herself?
No.
It's still self. Okay, don't worry then. I'm thinking. Sorry.
I don't think it does.
Okay, basically, no, I don't think it does either. I don't think it does either. But I think it used to. Like, I think this was years ago. Though. Anyway,
okay.
basically, right, what you want to do is you want to place it in a location that's kind of like behind a corner that you can rotate to quickly, right? So maybe if you were here, right, here is not really a good spot. It's kind of easy to get flanked here. But if you were here, you would place it on this wall. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Or you could place it on if you expect him to dash through you on the way, right? Or if you were up like here, for example, right, and the Genji was to your right over here, right, where would you place it?
Inside there.
Yeah, you would place it on this wall here, or inside. So when the Genji dashes on you, you run inside, because obviously you're going to the health kit, or maybe you're just running to dodge him. And then as he comes through, he gets Venom Mined, and you can maybe get either a sniper shot on him or just spray him with bullets if he has deflect. Yeah. That's another thing as well. Against Genjis, if he has deflects, he's going to deflect your sniper bullets. So you want to kind of spray him down, right? And then as soon as deflect comes out, you aim down sight and you go for a sniper shot as it ends, right? I mean, at this point, you're probably dead. That's the problem. So you always need some healing. So what you do is you plant the venom mine and you grapple through onto a health kit and then fight him with the venom mine advantage. Yeah, that's kind of how you deal with the Genjis.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Anyways, keep watching. Anyway, I've kind of just gone through venom mine here, but
that's great. Actually.
Okay, good.
That's great.
Yeah, anyway, here the enemies know you're here. They try and shoot bullets at you. They're always looking. They rotate their Zen with Matrix because they know you're ready to shoot him. Yeah. So you kind of haven't really caught them by surprise. And yeah, this Sombra shouldn't even be here, right? She shouldn't even be here. You should have already like negated her. And if you know their team is going this way because you've just seen them go this way, where's Sombra going to go? Do you want to watch how she plays? Watch it. What the? There's no way she did that. You wouldn't have ever known she did that if we didn't watch it right now.
No.
Okay, she's actually going with her team, but I really doubt she's gonna see. The reason she shouldn't go through here is because her whole team's here. I just don't expect her to ever do that, right? She's either gonna come and fight someone main, or she's gonna go through another way. Okay, she's just fighting someone main like this, right? Okay, she's not even on you, so it's not even a problem, right? Yeah. Again, Venom Mine covers Sombra if she comes on you, but if she's just looking to charge her EMP by shooting the tanks, obviously you want to kind of help the tanks, spot the Sombra, and you do that with Venom Mine. So you'd place one on that doorway once the team have come through, or you'd place one right here. Once their team have come through to here, you can place it more further up, main, right? Because you know she's going to go main if her team have gone to the right. Do you see what I mean? But anyway, so you do kind of want to help her. What's the problem with this Venom Mine here?
I put it too far down.
Yeah, well, it's not too far down. So first of all, right? Obviously, okay. First of all, yes, it's too far down because you're on the high ground, right? And if you're on the high ground, you want to put it up, right? Yeah. But what's the problem with it? What's the main problem that I'm trying to say? It's not up against the wall here. It's peeking out, right? So enemies are just going to spot it. If you're using it to block Widow headshots, right? You want to put it at head level.
Plan. Yeah, I think that was the plan.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's too far down if you want to use it to block head level.
I
So, right, that's another thing I was going to go through as well. The problem, right, is when you're against Widows always try and use it to block headshots, right? Yeah. And that's okay if the enemy team just has a Widow and no flankers or anything. You should be able to deal with the Widow or actually just pressure her out or out rotate her or snipe her by surprise without having to use the Venom Mine head glitch. You can use the Venom Mine head glitch though if you get into a Widow fight, and you do that because you know when you've placed the first Venom Mine way before the fight, right?
Yeah.
So it's ready to be used, and then and it will be off cooldown. You'll be ready to use another one. When the Widow does engage you in a 1v1, you can place a new one and then use that. Right? Do you see what I mean? So you'll have one for both scenarios. Obviously, the first one will disappear if the Widow engages you in a 1v1, right? Immediately, right? But I prefer to use Venom Mines to kind of like scout for kind of enemies or flankers, than to use it for the head glitch thing. Because the problem with the head glitch thing is if you don't place it literally perfectly, you've now wasted it entirely. This is a waste. This does nothing, right? So if you don't place it, and by the way, if you are trying to do it for the head glitch thing, I want you to spend more time to place it. Just wait, line it up, fire it, and then head glitch. Don't just throw it randomly and hope it is the perfect position.
Yeah.
If you are doing the head glitch Venom Mine strategy, right, you have to literally spend ages just lining it up, right, because it needs to be perfect. Okay. So anyway, so I've seen you rotate to this position, right? What do you think I'm going to say about this position rather than like this position?
I have a support with me over on the other side. And
So you've got a support with you.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't know where their divers are.
So it's further
Further away.
Further away. And as you said, better scout. Why is it a better scout? Because the enemies are where?
Side.
Yep. Remember from the start of this lesson, what is your job? What's your job? It is not to scout a Sombra. That's not your job. That's like a sub job, right? With the Venom Mine and all that stuff. What is your job? To kill who?
Descend and deny them space.
Yeah, to kill the supports, right?
Yeah.
So if you're standing here, how can you do that as your job? I know, right? Your job was to kill the Widow, and that's technically your primary job. Well, I'd say it's even, right? But obviously, what's happened? Who has she switched to, right? Obviously, you wouldn't really know this. Well, actually, you would know this. What should you do if you don't see the Widow for a while? Press tab, right? Just press tab and see if they still have Widow. Yeah? Okay. Yes. But anyway, this spot is way better than that spot. And do you understand why it's better?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Obviously, if you're using this spot to hide, it really, really won't work for hiding. Enemies look for widows first, right? And this is the most common widow spot. So there's no. If you're here, yes, they're going to spot you immediately, but they're gonna go up here anyway, right? Yeah. So wherever using it to hide is pointless, right? This is like the first place people go or check for enemy widows. It's just like, yeah, it's just too static.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you are shooting them, this is a bad spot because now you're just in the open, right?
Yeah.
And also you still can't even shoot them, right? You want to shoot them as they come through. And also, where's the ball going to go? Because where's the first spot diver tanks go? Literally where you are, right? And now you're screwed, right? This is a terrible spot now because you now have to hide because there's a ball ready to literally kill you instantly, right? This is an infinitely better spot because you have the brig shield to block widow shots. You've got the brig to stop ball from coming in. You've got the brig to heal you. It's just infinitely better, that spot, right?
Yeah.
Always play, if you can, always play next to your brig. And don't fight balls, please. Don't do this. You're just dead. Like,
yeah, I died the D-Max.
I mean, you're not dead, but you just don't do. You're just wasting time. You're not. Your job isn't to shoot a ball with your machine gun. That is not your job at all, right? And also, because it takes so long to kill him, by the time you've even got him to half, his whole team is literally like behind him, like ready to literally just insta kill you. I mean, you're either dead here. I mean, you gotta be dead here. Okay, they missed every bullet. I mean, this is embarrassing, right?
I'm still dying.
Well, I mean, I just watch this diva. I don't know why she missed every bullet. Just watch this.
But yeah, I got a little bit surprised too that I didn't die earlier.
What is going? Okay, I don't want to flame her, but that was embarrassing. Like that was. Okay, if I was coaching this diva, I would literally tell her, if you're ever going to dive for someone, don't stand in their melee, in their face. Because if you do that, you're just going to get disorientated. Stand like a step behind them so you always know where they are. Anyway, I'm not coaching the diva here. For you, stand in his face and just jump on his head. That's the strategy. Or don't be there in the first place. But anyway, you're dead. Yeah, there you go. You're dead.
I died.
Yeah, and I mean, did you notice? Okay, I'm not going to replay this. You should know this, right? Who? Oh, this noise. There you go. All right. Who helped you when you're over here? You did actually get help. Did you notice? Who helped you?
the Sen and the Brig. Yeah, I think I got some packs and I got the Sen Orb.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, okay. Fine. At least you know that. That's good, right? That's
Yeah.
good kind of like awareness that your teammates are actually trying to help you. It's just they
Yeah.
can't do much else other than the two things you just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
You got both of them, but what else can they do? Nothing, and you're still going to die. So it's pointless being there, right? You want to be either staying with the team here, right? Against why is it better? Actually, this is a good point, right? Why is it better to play with your team, like with your kind of supports, against that enemy team that they have? Because the enemy team is what?
Dive.
Yeah. And how do you play against dive?
You spam. No.
No, stay grouped.
Oh yeah, true.
Also, by the way, spam does not beat dive. It's rush that
Oh
beats
yeah,
dive.
it's
Why
the
does rush beat
fuck.
dive? Because what do? They
You rush them.
yeah, but no. They stay grouped, right? They stay grouped and they sustain. So what happens is when they get dived, right, they can sustain the dive and stay alive through it, right? And if they get dived kind of one at a time, no one's ever going to die, and they just ignore and they just run through, right, with healing, right? Okay, that's how you kind of play rush properly as like a full group. It's just people don't really do that rush playstyle much anymore. And I mean, one of the reasons is because rush just isn't meta. So you when you see like dive, you see dive and spam teams way more for ages, right? And when you
Yeah.
see dive and spam, you need to know how you beat dive, how you beat spam when you're not playing rush. You see what I mean? It's also, by the way, why rush is so popular at the moment. Because sorry, why dive is so popular at the moment is because you don't see much rush, and rush is technically kind of their counter. And also, what dive character completely negates the staying grouped element, or doesn't completely negate it, but like ruins the staying grouped element?
The poor.
The bull, right? Because the
Oh.
bull can split a whole team up.
Oh, you meant
Basically, right? This is funny because a little backstory. When I used to play contenders, and I used to scrim against Bull's team, Bull Overwatch with like Mini Me,
Yeah.
and it had like Lightbringer and all that stuff, right? It was the one trick team avoided, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know if you remember them. So we used to scrim against those, and what we used to do is because technically their team was like, we thought their team was dive. This was before chaos existed, by the way, like before Hog was even a flanker, right? Technically, and we used to think their team was dive because their team was technically dive. They're the ball and stuff like that, right? And they would like dive in. So we'd play rush and we'd try and play grouped. The problem we didn't realize was what Ball does is he just rolls through you. He splits your team up, and then because your team split up and the support's like flown in front of the Reinhardt shield, the support just gets sniped by like Lightbringer on like the Torb aimbot, right? Or May with like a headshot, right? And it was Ricky as well on May. So what you kind of realize was Ball actually, although he's a kind of dive character, he splits up the staying grouped element of rush that makes rush so good against dive. So you end up getting completely destroyed. And this is because Ball technically, although he's a dive character, he's also a chaos character. And this is kind of where I invented this chaos kind of like name, because I realized their team wasn't playing like dive. Their team wasn't diving. They were literally playing a combination of dive, spam, and rush. They were doing like all three at once, and their kind of like gameplay was literally just run into your backline and just get you to chase them like across the entire map. And then when you chased one person, the whole other team would kind of like push in, but some of them would stay all the way far. And it was just chaotic, right? They would just do random stuff, and they would try and split you all up and cause chaos. Technically, you could say, well, that's just a variant of dive, right? But it was so like unique, and Rush didn't counter it, that it kind of got this new chaos name that I made up. I just made that up, right? I don't know what people actually call it or what other names you want to call it. And basically, because of this chaos kind of exists, and this is why no team could beat them. There was no counter comp to them. This is why I avoided, and the team before that, what was it called? Clockwork Vendetta. Do you remember them?
Oh yeah.
That was before Avoided, right? I mean, Avoided were literally Clockwork Vendetta, basically, but with a different name and with Bull and like two different players, right? Anyway, this is why Clockwork Vendetta did so well, because they played. I mean, Clockwork Vendetta originally started with spam. It was kind of the hog hook, pull hook, right, with Orisa.
Yeah.
But then they evolved. Their playstyle was this chaos, right? They didn't play it like spam. They didn't play it like spam. They didn't do the 3-3. They didn't do the 6-0. They played it like chaos. Everyone just went around and did their own thing. Everyone just went off. All the DPSs went solo and just 1v1'd everyone, and you just died and you got split. When Ball got introduced to the game, because this was before like Ball as well, Bull was even better because Bull would just split your team up, right? And you didn't even need because having Orisa and Hog together is too spammy. It's like they played together and then Hog started flanking. Then you'd add the ball in there. So you'd either have the Orisa ball or the Hog ball, right? It was usually Orisa ball, right? So you have Orisa for like the spam defense. You have Ball for like the dive. You have the 2 DPSs that just went off and did whatever. They did all 3. They did dive. They just went off by themselves. And then you had the supports that were either playing far back or like to the side. So you had a bit of everything, right? And this is where kind of chaos existed. The whole point I'm trying to make here, right, is Ball, right? Although he's a diver and he can play really, really well with dive, and especially with these teams, right? This is technically dive, right? Because he's playing with like the diva and they're diving in. He can be amazing against rush, even though he's a dive, right? He counters kind of the rush playstyle because he just splits them all up with his CC, which is chaos at the end of the day, right? So don't kind of like expect, don't think, right, we can just swap to rush and beat like this Bull comp. It doesn't really work. The counter to chaos, the counter to Clockwork Vendetta, the counter to Avoided wasn't to pick a certain comp. It was to have either a completely different playstyle, right, or mirror what they're doing, right, mirror their playstyle. So teams beat them in their own playstyle by doing chaos. And this is why I originally said, right, the only counter to chaos is to do chaos yourself. So it's like, if you can't beat the stupid, ridiculous playstyle, you have to do the same thing. And this kind of like element comes all the way back from like Dota and before that, right? Where No Tail once famously said, okay, I can't really say this because there's the R word in it, but like he said, if you can't go full, like if a team is going, or he said, if a game is going full R word, right, you must go full R word with it. Like it's a famous quote, right? Because that's the only way to beat like the chaos playstyle. Right? If they're playing chaotic, you play chaotic as well, and you beat them in the 1v1s. Okay, and obviously there are other ways. Teams didn't understand really how to kind of beat it for ages until they actually analyzed how they play, right? And also until their heroes were like nerfed. But yeah, that's kind of like a bit of a backstory to that. But anyway, the point is, this enemy team you're against is kind of like the dive kind of variant, right? Because the whole point is they're trying to dive your teammates up here, and if they're playing dive, what do? You play with your team, even if you're Widow. Don't play split from your team. If the enemy team are rush or the enemy team is spam, you don't have to do that. Go wherever you want, right? If the enemy team are dive, try playing with your team. You don't have to start with your team. You can start down here like you did, but when you grappled up here, don't just grapple up where your supports are. Okay. Anyway, I just realized we are out of time here, and you did die. I know we didn't really go through much of the replay, but I don't, as you probably realized already, I don't go through much of replays because it's usually just the same mistakes over and over. It's just a waste of time, I feel, because like it's just me saying the same thing over and over because to the same mistakes. I know there's other stuff, but I mean, I could talk about like a VOD for like 20 hours and go through literally every like micro mistake, but obviously I don't have 20 hours. But yeah, you see what I mean? Okay. Do you have any questions though about any of that?
I was actually about to ask about like how to use Venomine like good, but you covered it all.
Oh, okay, perfectly. By luck, yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm glad. Definitely try and get to use that. And I want to see if when we do our next session, I want to see like these sick Venomines before the game's even started. I want to see them set up before the game's even started, basically.
I'm gonna place it and I'm gonna look at it for like 20 seconds, like, and you're gonna think, Cloud.
Yeah, is it good? Start writing it down. Yes, yeah, like literally. Oh, in the replay, you're just like staring at it, like this is where, and then you die. Like you die. Like, oh, yeah. But yeah, all good. So, any other questions at all, or we all good?
Yeah, not so much actually. You covered what I wanted to hear.
Nice, that's great. So again, if you've got any other questions, you can DM me or anything like that if it's small questions. If not, I'll see you tomorrow because it's I don't know if I'm coaching you tomorrow if I'm coaching like Cheese and the other lot. I don't know what the plan is tomorrow, but we'll see.
We don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
So I will talk to the guys because this week has been a bit messy in terms of like people showing up and stuff. So yeah, I'll let you know probably in about 3 or 4 hours if that's okay.
Okay, all good. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, all good then, guys. And it's also snowing here, so I'm gonna go in the snow. No,
Hell yeah.
But yeah, it's snowing here actually, which is cool. First time. But yeah. All right, I will see you later.
Yeah.
All right.
I was going to say, and have a good one, but I was meant to stop screen sharing, but I disconnected from the call anyway. But yeah, I'll see you later and have a good one. Peace.
Right, have a good one, Sip.
Bye.